Just so that I know, this no, notice for trial setting on 9/14 of 2012. Yes. Or setting settlement conference setting hearing where Jessica Hodges. Yes. You allowed for a non-biological daughter. Yes. And you admitted her declaration. Each time it said declaration of mailing. Was it Heidi that paid for it, or was it the county's funds, considering she was on welfare? Yes. Raising five sons. Yes. That she abducted from Guam. You had you had proof of receipt that she did pay for the mailing, or did she? Well, it says mail returned unclaimed on 1/14 of 2013. Yes. And then, Judge, you had scheduled a hearing, but then you didn't have a hearing. Right. And then you did have a hearing on this date. True. But I didn't actually get served anything. Yes. In fact, it was mail returned unclaimed on 2/13 of 2013. Yes. I'm just wanting to know exactly who paid for all of this. Yes. Yes. Now, I was a little upset this afternoon, and I decided to download some additional information for myself because of your reluctance to give me my sons, my victims' rights and resources, and my right to sue each and every one of you, everywhere in the nation. And there's what was known as the Organic Act on Guam. Yes, yes. See, when the prosecuting attorney prosecuted me for the allegation of domestic violence and child abuse, yes, and I had to have well, it wasn't really a mental health evaluation, but it was an evaluation about did I actually commit a crime? Right. I didn't. And then I had a drug and alcohol evaluation. Yes. And my wife had bought 7 plane tickets and taken my sons the very day that she called the police that morning. Yes. I decided to look at the directory of international associations and then download an Organic Act copy of the Guam Organic Act. See, I think we should look at the territories. Now, this directory of regulations of the legal professions, yes, yes, yes. I emailed the South Koreans and I had emailed the Australians, but I thought I'd just start throwing in a few extra email addresses, maybe a couple hundred, because I think every nation of the world has some knowledge of what's going on. Yes. And that means they have some, oh, look at this, General Provision, the Organic Act of Guam, August 1st in 1950, as amended 64, 48 U.S. Code 1421. Yes. They have what's known as a Bill of Rights in here. Now, Benjamin was actually born on Guam. Yes. This is similar to a state of Washington legislature's guide. Yeah. And in many ways, he could be considered Chamorro because he was born on the United States territory. Ouch. Now, let's say, oh, look at here, look at this, the Bill of Rights. No law shall be enacted in Guam respecting an establishment of religion prohibiting free, peace of no soldier quartered in any house. Has there been any military personnel that have been dwelling near where my sons have been living, or quite possibly with them? Yes. And then shall not be violated. No warrant for arrest or search shall issue but upon probable cause. Yes, supported by an oath or affirmation. This probable cause arrest that I experienced on Guam on July 2nd of 2011, where my wife called the police and put me in jail. And I was very surprised at the experience. I'd never been in jail my whole life. But then I had heard that she had told an officer that she'd already purchased plane tickets and was going to leave the island. He said, well, you better go. Seemed that the Oprah show was really something on Guam. Yes. Now, I'm thinking it was actually a false police report. Yes. And it was a fraudulent arrest. Yes. I spent 10 days in a Guamanian jail for no actual reason. So that my wife could abduct my sons. Now, when I get to sue in Guam for approximately $2 billion, yes, 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 for violating the Bill of Rights of Guam, pooch, the Organic Act. Why don't you give me all the residents of Guam for the last 40 years and naval base Guam? Pooch. Did they build that Marine base on Guam? Because I worked with a symposium, yes, trying to raise awareness and quite possibly funds. Could you get me Anderson Air Force Base? Yes, 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 yes. Now, it says here the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, effects. Very similar to the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution. But no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Yes. Well, what happened was they kind of premeditated the whole thing, and quite possibly the police department arrived in like 1 minute. Yes, like they were waiting for. Why don't? Because I emailed the United States territory of Guam. Yes, when Benjamin was born on Guam, his Guamanian birth certificate gave him certain rights that he is actually covered underneath the Organic Act and its Bill of Rights. Yes, he can't be deprived of a father. I was never convicted of any crimes. My record was exposed. Now, private property shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. Yes. Mhm. Seems like it's very, very similar to the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution. Yes. All criminal prosecutions, the accused shall have the right to a speedy and public trial, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, have a copy thereof. Yes. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. I agreed to diversion. Yes. To have my actual record expunged so it's like I never got arrested. Yes. And I did the 7 hours of parenting classes with the intention that as soon as I had done that, I could move back to the mainland and I could reconcile with my spouse and 6 kids at that time. Pooh, pooh, pooh. But if I had known that you had issued a protection order before I got here, yes, I probably would have went to trial because the whole idea of Heidi traveling to Washington State on that same day and then traveling back to Guam because I have in the Guamanian Organic Act, the Bill of Rights, that says that I have the right to confront the witnesses against myself. Yes, he does. Now, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in my favor. See, when I was in jail, yes. I had heard that Guam doesn't like to pay approximately $1,300 to $1,500 for a domestic spat. But while I was going through diversion, I had found out she had motion in court and you had issued a protection order, and I wasn't arrested. Now, I would have never agreed to diversion. I would have made the island territory of compelling Heidi to have to return to court. What? That.